Question says main purpose, so we're just going to read the passage, try to get a very vague understanding of what's going on. Don't focus too much on the details. A study by Dr. Paul Hanel and colleagues concluded that people are more likely to behave politely when listening to ideas they disagree with if they think about values before they engage in a discussion. So there's a lot there, but something about values, something about politeness, something about behavior, but I'm not going to try to order it around. Let's just keep moving. Study participants were assigned to one of two groups. The experimental group spent a few minutes writing about one of their personal values before they had a group discussion on a controversial topic, and the control group spent a few minutes writing about a drink, whatever, before their group discussion on that topic. Hanel and colleagues found that the experimental group's discussion was more civil than the control group's discussion was. So what is my dumb summary here? I'm not going to focus on all the little details of the experiment, but my dumb summary is this is about an experiment. Right? It describes the process, it describes the findings, like it's just very generally about an experiment. And notice my summary does not talk about what is the effect of politeness and writing about the politeness versus the milk or whatever. I don't care. That's not going anywhere. If I need to go back to the passage to get those kinds of details, I can. I just want to know very generally what's happening. We'll worry about details only if we need them. So let's look at A. To describe a widely held belief and how a study's results support that belief. Well, there's definitely a study, there's definitely results, but the thing that bothers me right away is the phrase widely held belief. This is a very dangerous phrase because it's starting to quantify something. And this is a very common trap on the SAT, is choices that quantify things when the passage does not. Is this a widely held belief? Do lots of people think something about the behavior and the politeness? Well, it talks about what these guys concluded, and they have maybe a belief about that, but I don't know that like everyone in the world believes this as well. So that's why this is the wrong claim, is it's going way beyond. In a way, this is almost like a big small thing we talked about on another question, is this is a very specific experiment. We are not allowed to make these big conclusions. We don't know what all the people in the world believe. This choice is trying to quantify this in a way that the passage does not. So it's very, very dangerous choice. Choice B, to argue that researchers were surprised by the results of a certain study. Well, that's definitely a strong word. Does it say they were surprised? Right? That word needs to be backed up by the passage. We cannot ignore that word. It is very, very strong. So we can scan. I don't remember them being surprised, but if you wanted to, you can go back, you can scan it. And they probably aren't going to use the word surprise exactly, but they might use a word like unexpected, an unexpected result. But I'll save you the time. It doesn't say that. I don't see it anywhere, so we're good. This is not something they were surprised by, or at least not that it says in the passage. C, to suggest ways to improve a certain study's experimental design. Well, that makes it sound like the experiment was bad. I never got that from the passage. This seems just like a general kind of discussion of what the experiment did. It's very neutral in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't really feel like they're improving it. So if they're suggesting ways to improve it, ask yourself, what are some ways to improve it? If you can't go to the passage and point to different sentences and say, here's where they're listing those ways, then it's probably the wrong answer. Now, we can't just pick D because it's all that's left, because maybe we did something wrong along the way. We got to make sure D is right. Let's try to prove D right the same way we proved all the others wrong. So D, to explain a study's conclusion and how a research team arrived at that conclusion. So what's the conclusion? Well, they found that this group's discussion was more civil than the control group. So that's our conclusion, right? They even started at the beginning with the word concluded. So we got two places where they kind of say it, right? So explain a study's conclusion and how they arrived at that. Well, how did they arrive at it? Look, they did two groups and they asked them different things and they did different things and then they compared the groups. So I have lots of details there that tell me about the way they arrived at that conclusion through the experimental process. But I don't care about the details of that process. And I think that's really, really important. Some of you are going to read these passages and need to kind of absorb every detail, write it down on your scratch paper. No, 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 no. Let the choices tell you what to care about. Read those passages and get a very general sense. Then let the choices tell you what to care about. And you can go back and look for those details if you need to, but probably you won't need them.